So we're now going to talk about part 2 of this introduction to the class. And what we'll do here is talk about how to set up Java and Android Studio and how you can get access to the source code, and we'll kind of summarize what the class is about. So for this class, you need to get the latest version of Android Studio, and you can do that by going to this link, and this is the latest version, 20.3.1. This is the Windows one, but of course if you're on a Mac, you should get the Mac one, and if you're on Linux, you should get the Linux one. So how do you install it? Well, you go and download it, and it'll come down and give you like a little installer that you would use. And once you've got Android Studio installed, which should be pretty straightforward, knock on wood, although there's sometimes strange things that happen, you'll go in and you'll open up the SDK Manager, which is one of the little buttons in the right-hand side of the menu bar in Android Studio. And it'll give you this menu, and you want to install Android 11. Which is Android version R. They used to name them after candies, and then at some point I guess they figured out it was going to be too hard to come up with a candy that started with Q. So after that point it did just have a letter, right? I can't really think of a candy that starts with Q either, maybe Twizzlers or something like that. So you'll go ahead and install Android 11, which will also install Java 11, or should install Java 11. And then you'll need to create an Android emulator. I recommend you create Android 30, which is R, create an emulator for that. You'll need that because that's how you'll see your program run. Now, if you happen to have an Android phone that's running Android 30, the latest version, which you very well may have, you're welcome to use that as well. Your programs will run a little faster when you do them there, but emulator is getting pretty good too. By default, when you get an emulator, it typically takes advantage of hardware acceleration on Intel chips, but if you need more information about that, go to this link and it may help you. Back in the bad old days, the emulators were really slow, but nowadays they tend to be much faster, almost as fast as having a native phone. All the source code that Android has that we care about and that Java has that we care about is all available in open source form, so you're welcome to look at it. You can get the Android source code. If you want to browse the Android source code, you can take a look at it here. If you want to download the Android source code, you can download it there. Likewise, you can browse the Java source code here, and you can download the Java source code here. You can also get Java 11 too. That's also available online as well. So this is the course website that we'll be using. We actually use a couple of things here, but hopefully this all makes sense once I put the video out. So this tells you, where the class is. You obviously figured that out on your own, or you wouldn't have been here. It tells you when the final exam is, if you forget, if we have one. It's got a bunch of things about, for example, office hours. So you can see these are when the office hours are going to be. And I've asked the graders to post their links, because I think some of them will be using Zoom, to the Piazza page. We'll talk more about that in a second. So you can see all the people here who've taken the course before. The assignment deadlines are here, and that will be the same for all the assignments. They'll always be there. The course frequently asked questions page is here. Go here, you can see a lot of frequently asked questions. Some of the stuff that's probably important to understand is how to pull the code from my repository into your repository, and then how to manage that. So that's described in one of the facts here that you can take a look at. There's also stuff about how the programming assignment processes work. We kind of went through that earlier, but this is a more detailed description of what you need to do and how I will give you feedback. There's also other things about, sort of a summary of what we might cover in the course, which tends to change from time to time, so it's not 100% up to date at any given point because I change things a lot. This is a book. You don't have to get this book. I recommend you get this book. It's a great book. It's called Modern Java in Action, and it'll give you a great description of how to program with streams and parallel streams and completable futures and so on. You don't have to get it, but it would be advisable. There's also other stuff that you might want to take a look at here as well. Those are just recommended reading. You may have that from other courses. And then every week I will put out the videos here on my page. You can see that a lot of the stuff is empty because we just started. But here's a video that talks about Git and how you can do Git. And then the programming assignments will be available here. The first one's there. Like I said, hold off on that till I get it fully working. But it's close. You can actually look at it if you want to see what it's going to be like. And then I also have a YouTube playlist where everything goes as well. Probably just as easy to look at this link. And this is the playlist to go to for the background information on functional programming. So I recorded, again, about, I think, 16 videos or so a week or two ago talking about Java functional programming. So what's a Lambda expression? What's a method reference? What's a functional interface? And you'll need to know that stuff to be able to program with Java streams. So this is, but some of you already may know that. So I kind of put this as background viewing if you would need a refresher on that. And so hopefully that'll give you some tips on how things work. So we're now in my GitHub account. This is where the source code resides, and it's also where the wiki resides. And this is where we have useful information like the assignment deadlines and the frequently asked questions. And there's a nice description here about how to use Git in order to be able to pull your code into your repository and synchronize with my repository when you need to, and then what to do if you get a Git merge conflict, some ways to fix that. If you get into trouble, just send me an email, I'll help you out. This inevitably happens. Git is a little finicky, so it sometimes seems like it's more trouble than it's worth, but it's what everybody uses, so that's why we use it. There's something here talking about how to install the software, where to get the code, how to set up your GitLab account, kind of walks you through screen by screen. For this, they sometimes move stuff around annoyingly, but if you have questions there, let me know. I think they moved where project members are. They moved that somehow, so that probably needs to be updated. And there's also, as I mentioned before, the office hours. So inevitably what happens is people don't go to office hours till like a day or two before the assignments due, but try as much as you can to get there early so that you won't have to wait in a line for people to help you out. So to wrap up, summarize what the course is about, you'll get out of this course what you put into it. That's pretty much true of any course, of course. There's some hard work involved, depending on how much you like to program. This may be lots of fun, it may be very frustrating. Please don't miss deadlines, in particular when assignments are due. Make sure you submit them, especially the initial submissions, because if you don't do that, then I won't grade them or won't review them. They'll still be graded eventually, but you won't get the review. Make sure you participate in class. Make sure you participate in Piazza. The Piazza link is here, and you should all have been invited to join Piazza. That's where the discussions take place. You can post anonymously. I can see who you are, but you can post anonymously to other students, which is perfectly fine. Generally, if you have a question about your particular project, like with your source code, please send it to me as a private post. But if it's a more general question, like what's a completable future, please make that a public post, because then everybody can benefit from the answer, and other students can answer as well. No laptops or phones in class unless explicitly allowed. And this is another thing I've learned from painful trial and error over the years. If people spend all their time browsing, they don't pay any attention, and then they come at office hours and they're like, I don't understand anything you talked about, and it's because they weren't paying attention. So, much like Harry Potter, if you don't apply, you lose points. Your house will lose points. I guess I really can't penalize your house, but that's important. Lots of resources. There's tons of stuff. The slides have a gazillion links in them to find more information. Do not feel obliged to follow every link, but if you'd like further information, it's a good place to look. We have all the video lectures will be online forum with Piazza, the textbooks, which you may or may not need, and obviously the office hours. Every day of the week has office hours, so we tried to spread them around so that people would be able to make at least one of them despite your schedule. Please resist the urge to email me directly unless it's something that's confidential, like you're having a medical issue or you've got COVID and you don't want other people to know, or you want to drop the class or whatever you have questions about. That's perfectly fine to email me, but in general, if you have questions that relate to things having to do with the course, please make sure you let me know through Piazza. And then finally, hopefully it's pretty clear that there are many abundant opportunities in the field of computing, which is why we have so many CS majors these days. So it's a great area to focus on, and the topics we're learning here, I absolutely guarantee you will be things that will pay off down the road. So this is not just some abstract exercise in obscure languages that are the pet project of the professor. This is stuff that you will be able to use a lot. And of course, mobile development is also cool to know as well. I'm obliged to put this here if for some strange reason there is an emergency, which I certainly hope we don't have. There is an evacuation plan, which is really simple. Walk up the circular stairs and get out of the building. So I'm just telling you that because you're supposed to tell people the evacuation plan. Do not take the elevator. Just walk up the stairs. There probably are other ways out of here, but that's the way I would go, unless unless that giant funky light sculpture collapses, and then we're all in big trouble. Okay, so that's the end of part 2.